The fall of Jezebel. The prophecy that ended in blood. Imagine a woman so powerful that not even a king dared oppose her. Imagine a queen who transformed the worship of an entire people, who opposed the prophets of the living God, who persecuted the righteous without hesitation. Now, imagine this same woman being thrown from a window by her own servants and devoured by dogs. Yes, this is the story of Jezebel, a name that still carries the weight of betrayal, idolatry, and a brutal fall from divine justice. But was Jezebel simply an evil woman? Or is her story a cruel reminder of how far human pride can go before reaching the limit imposed by God Himself? Today, we will delve into one of the most impactful accounts in the entire Bible. Prepare yourself for an intense, dramatic, and utterly real journey. You will understand why Jezebel became a symbol of spiritual corruption, and how her death marked the fulfillment of a prophecy no one dared doubt. The rise of the pagan queen born in Sidon, a city in powerful Phoenicia. Jezebel was no ordinary woman. Daughter of Ethbaal, king and high priest of Baal, she was raised amid imposing temples, intense rituals, and a fervent worship of pagan gods. From a young age, she learned that power is gained and maintained through strength, influence, and sacrifice. Can you imagine growing up believing that human sacrifices please the gods? That the more blood spilled, the more blessings one gains? This was Jezebel's world. She was more than a princess. She was an instrument of pagan religion. And when she married Ahab, king of Israel, she not only united two nations, she planted the seed of idolatry in the heart of a kingdom chosen by God. But did Jezebel simply intend to maintain her faith? Or did she know from the beginning that she wanted to destroy the worship of the Lord in Israel? She was ambitious, determined, and strategic. She had learned the art of manipulation and diplomacy early on. Sidon was a land of commerce, and its elite knew how to negotiate with kings and merchants. Jezebel applied these skills masterfully, and upon assuming her position as queen, she quickly realized the fragility of the faith of the people of Israel. She saw fertile ground for planting her own belief. After all, if she grew up believing that Baal granted power, why not expand her spiritual reign? Jezebel didn't just want to live as a queen. She wanted to be revered, adored, feared, and she would do whatever it took to achieve this. The corrupted kingdom, upon arriving in Israel, Jezebel encountered no resistance. Ahab, though king, was a weak, impressionable man, easily seduced by her imposing presence. It didn't take long for Jezebel to take control. The throne was his, but the power was hers. She built temples to Baal and Asherah with the people's resources. She introduced pagan rituals on sacred ground. But worst of all, she didn't just want to coexist with the God of Israel. She wanted to replace him. Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when an entire nation strays from its original faith? When the leaders who should protect the truth begin to persecute those who defend it? That's exactly what Jezebel did. She ordered the death of the Lord's prophets. She launched a veritable manhunt. The voices of God were silenced, or forced, into exile. But amidst so much chaos, a voice arose that she could not silence. Jezebel's influence extended to every sphere: political, religious, and social. She encouraged practices that shocked even the most liberal Israelites. Sacrifices became frequent, including human sacrifices. Israel's spiritual identity was being erased. The queen instilled fear and molded a new cult that completely rejected the Lord's teachings. The kingdom's moral and spiritual decline accelerated. The people, cornered, lived between the fear of death and the silence of faith. Israel was in the hands of a woman who feared neither God nor man, and few dared to confront her. Elijah, the unwavering, dressed in simple furs, without wealth, without pomp. Elijah the prophet appeared. He had no army. He had no political influence. But he had something Jezebel never had: the authority of heaven, and it was with this authority that he entered the palace and declared, "There shall be neither dew nor rain in Israel except at my word." The sky closed. The ground cracked. Drought ravaged the land. Baal, the god of storms, remained silent. Why? Didn't Baal answer? Where were the lightning, the rain, the promised fertility? The people began to doubt. Famine grew stronger. Prayers to Baal echoed in vain. Jezebel, increasingly desperate, intensified the sacrifices, but nothing. And then, the challenge occurred. Atop Mount Carmel, Elijah and the 450 prophets of Baal faced off before the people. Whoever answered with fire would be the true God. Do you remember what happened? While the prophets shouted, danced, and wounded themselves, the sky remained silent. Elijah calmly, simply prayed, and the fire of God fell. The crowd prostrated itself. The truth became evident. But Jezebel, she did not surrender. Elijah, with his courage, became a symbol of resistance. He not only confronted idolatry, he revealed its powerlessness. He was a single man, but his faith was like an army. His voice echoed amidst the spiritual darkness. It was a reminder that the Lord still spoke, still acted, still watched. Jezebel, for her part, saw Elijah as the greatest threat to her rule. He was the rock on her throne, and she would do everything to crush him. But what she didn't understand is that Elijah didn't speak for himself. He was the mouth of God. The prophecy of the fall. The public shame on Mount Carmel was not enough to break Jezebel. She did not retreat, did not humble herself, did not acknowledge her error. On the contrary, her fury increased. How dare someone expose the impotence of their gods before the people? How could Elijah, a mere man, have the courage to defy her so openly? It was an affront she would not let go unpunished. And so, Elijah became target number one. Jezebel vowed to kill him. And when Jezebel made a promise, the kingdom trembled. Elijah fled, yes, but not out of cowardice, but out of obedience and discernment. He knew the battle was not yet over. And while Elijah sought God in the desert, Jezebel continued her bloody path. It was in this context that another shocking episode occurred. The case of Naboth. Naboth was an ordinary man, the owner of a vineyard near Ahab's palace. When the king expressed a desire to buy it, Naboth refused, saying that the land was his ancestors' inheritance and he could not part with it. A noble gesture, faithful to God's laws. But Jezebel saw the refusal as a personal insult. Ahab returned, home dejected like a disgruntled child, and Jezebel, seeing him sad, mocked, "Is this how a king of Israel acts?" So she decided to solve the problem her way, with deceit, manipulation, and death. She wrote letters in the king's name, ordering Naboth to be accused of blasphemy. 2 men were paid to testify against him. Naboth was stoned to death. Jezebel, as if offering a gift, gave the vineyard to Ahab. But from heaven, God saw it all. And then, Elijah received a new word, a prophecy that would fall like a final sentence. In the place where dogs licked Naboth's blood, they will lick your blood, also Ahab. And as for Jezebel, dogs will devour her flesh by the wall of Jezreel. Can you imagine the coldness of someone who hears this and is unmoved? Jezebel heard and ignored it. But divine justice had already been triggered. And when God speaks, there is no throne, crown, or wall that can prevent what is to come. She was not afraid. Perhaps she believed nothing could touch her, that she was untouchable. Her pride was as solid as her walls, but every wall, no matter how imposing, can one day crumble. And the fall, when it comes from so high, is devastating. The fulfillment of prophecy, the years passed. Ahab died in battle, and Jezebel remained in power, now as matriarch of a kingdom steeped in idolatry. Her sons assumed the throne, but it was she who continued to influence the course of the nation. Nothing had changed, at least not on the surface, but in the heavens. Something was stirring. Jehu, a military commander, was anointed by God with a clear mission: to exterminate Ahab's line and restore fidelity to God in Israel. He was neither a politician nor a priest. He was a warrior with a purpose. Have you ever imagined what happens when God sends an ordinary man to carry out extraordinary judgment? Jehu marched. He advanced with fury, and when he reached the gates of Jezreel, the prophecy began to breathe. Jezebel, in her usual haughtiness, did not hide. She dressed herself like a queen, painted her eyes, arranged her hair, and positioned herself at the palace window. Even in the face of death, she feigned power. When Jehu entered the gates, she taunted him with contempt. But Jehu looked up and didn't answer with words. He asked her servants, "Who is with me?" And in that instant, something not even Jezebel anticipated happened. Her own servants betrayed her. Without hesitation, they threw her from the window. The queen's body slammed into the ground. Blood spattered. The walls, the horses trampled over her like dust on the road. And Jehu went on his way. Later, he ordered the body buried, for, after all, she was a king's daughter. But when they returned to the site, they found only the skull, the feet, and the palms of the hands. The rest had been devoured by dogs, exactly as God had said. Jezebel met an end without glory, without mourning, without honorable remembrance. She who walked surrounded by jewels was now no longer recognizable. Not even the location of her body could be identified. The silence that followed was heavy, a silence of justice, of finality, of truth. And the people finally realized. Jezebel was not invincible. The God of Israel had not slept. Jezebel's last lesson, Jezebel, who once walked marble halls, surrounded by gold and incense, ended her days reduced to pieces, without honor, without burial, without a legacy. And what does all this teach us? Jezebel's story is not just a reminder of something terrible. It is a warning, a mirror, a call to conscience. How often does power go to our heads and make us forget who is in control? How often are human eyes enchanted by pagan altars, by thrones devoid of meaning, by glories that time consumes? Jezebel represents unbridled pride, the refusal to bow before the truth. And in the end, justice came. Without fanfare, without spectacle, but with precision. Jezebel's life is a reminder that God's patience is not weakness. He waits, but does not forget. He observes, but does not ignore. He warns, and when necessary, judges. Her fall was not just political, it was spiritual, a symbol of what happens to those who directly defy the Lord, and her death was proof that no arrogance can withstand time. No empire survives the truth. Jezebel turned to dust, and her story became a lesson. Perhaps you're wondering, why is this story so impactful even after centuries? Because it speaks of something that never changes: the human heart. In the face of idolatry, manipulation, persecution, and arrogance, God responded firmly. And if he responded then, why would it be any different today? May Jezebel's story serve as a reminder and a warning. May we never forget. No earthly power compares to divine authority. No throne, no matter how ornate, is higher than God's judgment. If this video resonated with you, like it, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. And if you want to understand why Lot's daughters slept with their own father and what this reveals about the human heart, click on the next video. See you there.